All right, well, according to my clock, we are close. We are at 7 o'clock, so we'll call this meeting of the Board of Finance together here. So unfortunately, both our chair and our secretary are away today, so you get me wielding the gavel for the next whatever it takes to get through the agenda. I guess as we typically do, we'll start with the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge of allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Just to clarify, folks, we do have Jim Sullivan on the phone, and we'll be getting others joining later as the agenda progresses. So. All right, so next on the agenda is comments from the public. Do we have any comments from the public today? Going once, going twice, and 3 times. All right, so no comments today from the public. So we'll move right into our formal agenda topics, which is we start with a handful of bid waiver requests. So the first are a series of requests from DPW. So I see Jeff here. Jeff, I think we'll probably best kind of take these one at a time. And maybe the way we'll do it is just give you an opportunity. Again, we'll go through them one by one, but if you want to kind of speak to the first one, which is the circus well, or circus lot well, I'll then make a motion and then we'll vote on it. But we'll give you the opportunity to give us the context first.
Thanks for having me. With me tonight is Nate Michelli. He is the Highway Division 4 person. He's been heavily involved in a lot of projects, and with these he may assist me with some questions if there are any. So I believe the first bid waiver that we are requesting tonight for the circus lot is for well abandonment. And again, the property was previously owned by Westerly Water. Condition of the sale was the abandonment of the wells on the parcel of land. One deep well and there's some observation wells. Nate had reached out to members over at Westerly Water, and we talked about getting a certified contractor to do the work for us. They had their own preferred contractor and they quoted a price. We are actually going to pay Westerly Water, and they are going to forward the price and payment to their subcontractor, and they will be supervising the activity. We will be there, of course, to watch, but they will be supervising it and certifying that the wells are completely closed to the satisfaction of the state.
All right. Any questions for Jeff about this one?
Just a quick question. Does this bid waiver, I mean, does the amount include labor?
Yes.
Okay, all right.
Yes.
I just saw the note about Connecticut and Rhode Island prevailing.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, I did have that same
Yeah,
question. So
didn't see
there was that
labor.
second note or second footnote under terms. It says pricing is valid for 45 days, but excludes
Right.
payment of prevailing wage. So can you just explain what that means?
I'm not sure if Nate had.
I'm not sure about the prevailing wage.
Yeah.
I had reached out to Max Lozado in charge of the Westerly Water Department, and he said they prefer to use these people. He would prefer to orchestrate it. It's a lot easier for him to close out that site with the health department, I believe it is. So we can look into that, absolutely. But this was the quote from them.
I don't want to be surprised.
Right.
No,
this-
30,000.
Yeah.
That's my only question.
No, this was the quote to complete the job.
I think I can speak to prevailing wage.
Okay.
Just, if it was being paid for with a state grant, we would have to use prevailing wage. But because it's just using town tax dollars, it does not require being prevailing wage.
Okay. All right. So it sounds like the quote's solid. The
Okay,
quote is the
that
quote.
was my only
Okay.
question.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right. Thanks for that clarification. Any other questions on this one? All right, well, can I have a motion to approve the bid waiver request from DPW to engage Westerly Water's required vendor, Dennis Elmer, to cap the well at Circus Lot for $25,655?
So moved.
Second.
All right, did you get that, Aga?
Can you say who it was, Mike? Just
There was Bill on the motion and Deb on the second.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. All in favor of the bid waiver request, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? No opposed. That passes. All right, item number 2, Jeff, which is again another bid waiver, again related to the circus lot for asbestos abatement of the pump house.
Yes, again, asbestos removal bid waiver. This is for a contractor that I believe the town has currently utilized on other projects. There is a little bit of asbestos at the facility, the old well facility. Prior to removing the structure, the brick structure, there's some asbestos in the roof which was previously identified. And we're requesting a bid waiver so that we may utilize the company as stated for the removal, the Spectrum Environmental LLC. And again, they will be providing the town the proper paperwork that we will file upon removal and disposal of the material.
Any questions for Jeff on this one?
Jeff, is there any additional inspection that has to be done following the removal?
No, they will
testing?
do, exactly, they will do that and certify that it was all, good question, that it's all taken care of and disposed of. Yeah.
Jeff, I'm curious, was this a surprise or is this something we knew was going to need to get done?
It's part of taking the current building down, so before we can demo it, with the licensed person to demo it, you have to do a environmental test on it. So they check everything to see if anything's hazardous. And the only thing they found was tar paper on the roof. It was a thin layer. And that's what this is to do that. And then we have a contractor lined up ready to come take the building down once that's completed.
And it seemed like there was a kind of maybe 2 parts to this. If they found wood material in the roof decking, there was going to be a little bit of additional charge, and it looks like the bid waivers includes that additional amount. Do we know the answer to that yet, or is that still?
It was the 2 numbers. It was,
Maybe it is.
I want to say there was a number to put plastic up against it because there's no wood there, I believe. And the other one was to dispose of the actual asbestos material.
Okay, yeah, there was this additional 2,180.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So he had said that we may not need to do that. He doesn't know until he gets in there. So that's worst case scenario. He said if there's a wood layer under it, we're good. If there's not, he has to put plastic up so the asbestos doesn't, when they disturb it, doesn't then drop down and contaminate the ground.
Got it.
Are they on a state bid list, or this is just?
Spectrum Environmental, I'm not sure. They are a registered vendor with us that we've used for other stuff before.
They're also, there aren't very many companies doing this.
No, it was a heck of a job tracking him down. Even he said, if I can come do it this week, I'll do it. Otherwise, he said he'll be waiting until September because he does a ton of work for schools and he has to be by schools.
All right, so there is some urgency to this
Yes.
one.
Yeah.
Okay.
So he's coming next week?
Yeah.
Good.
Okay, any other questions?
No.
No? All right, can I have a motion to approve the bid waiver from DPW for asbestos abatement of the pump house on the circus lot property by Spectrum Environmental for $16,269.71?
So moved. Oh, second.
I think
David.
got David there was the first, and Bill was the second on that. All right, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, that motion also passes. All right, Jeff, you're still up here now. Item number 3, purchase of enclosed trailer.
Yes, this is a bid waiver for the purchase of an equipment for an enclosed trailer. Pretty much to be utilized to transport our winter sidewalk equipment, snow blowers and things of that nature. Currently, we don't have anything that is enclosed. The equipment is left in the garage and we don't go home as a team, as Nate can attest to. Roads are our priorities, and then after that, the crew comes back to Public Works facility and they load the equipment onto an open trailer and then go out and take care of our sidewalks. This, we could prep all the equipment prior to a snow event. When we're through the roads, then we can the equipment is already loaded on the enclosed trailer and we can transport it to the proper sites. So it saves us a little bit of time. The purchase of the trailer also, we will utilize it somewhat in the summertime. It's not going to sit idle. The main reason we are requesting it is for the transport of the winter equipment, but we would utilize that as a summer as well. Currently we were lucky to get a couple of seasonals, on board, but we could use it to transport some of our lawn mowers as well.
Can all the sidewalk equipment fit into that trailer?
Yes, I believe for the most part.
It does,
Yeah.
yes, yep, it will. And right now, it's being left out in the elements, because we're tight on space, and it's kind of a shed on wheels, you know what I mean?
Yeah, all right, so just in an open trail or?
It's a, yes, versus a closed trail, and this is a state bid.
Yeah. And can you remind me, did we actually budget for this? Or how are you?
No, this was something that we as a department had talked about, and at the end of the year, again, a light winter, we did have a little bit of extra money. So there is I think, a request for a line item transfer as well.
Yeah, there's a line.
Oh, we do have that one today?
Yes.
Yes.
Oh, yeah, there it is, okay.
Snow
Okay.
materials to,
No, yes, okay. All right, any other questions on this one? Yeah, the only other thing I was noting, Jeff, was, and I think you largely answered my question now, but yeah, when I saw some of these additional items that you guys were adding, landscape, countertops, tool cabinets, is that all for the additional uses?
So we had discovered, once we priced the trailer out, I want to say it was around 20,000. And to add that additional stuff, that turns it into a year-round where we can use for our construction projects in the summer. The current trailer we're using now is pretty run down and beat down. And it kind of makes it so we have to take less vehicles to the job, and it becomes a year-round use for it.
Okay.
For a small expense, we
Yeah,
added
yeah.
expense, yeah.
Okay, can I have a motion to approve the bid waiver from DPW to purchase the enclosed trailer from trailer, is that Depot or
Depot.
Yeah, Depot, yeah, for $25,895.
so moved.
All right, second?
Second?
All right, so first Bill, second from Deb. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? No opposed? All right, that one carries unanimously as well. All right, Jeff, number 4, this is for the brine sprayer.
Yeah, so thank you again. Bid waiver request, again, this is something that, this is a brine application system. So we've been talking about brine for a couple of years now, and we would really like to utilize that as part of our winter control. And as we were looking into it, some of the pricing on it, the purchasing of equipment is expensive. Last season, a couple of our mechanics were talking with the DOT. The DOT said that they would give us the brine at no cost. We talked about it versus buying the batching system, and which is a little bit more expensive. We opted to get the application system, which we would need eventually anyway. We did research it, and the system that we do prefer is on a state bid. It is available right now. They're in high demand. But this is something that we would put to use this winter as part of our snow combating efforts.
Questions for Jeff on this one? Just come back to the budget one more. Again, I remember all the discussions during here, but do you remember what we actually allocated for this? Are we in the same ballpark?
We had a CIP a previous year, I believe 10,000, and we did ask for an additional funding in our CIP just for the purchase of this brine machine. So we're well within that price range.
All right, any other questions? Not, can I get a motion to approve the bid waiver from DPW to purchase the Honda brine sprayer from Northeast De-icing Solutions for $22,518?
So moved.
Second.
All right, that was Bill making the motion and seconded by David. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? No opposed, so that one carries unanimously as well.
Great, thank you.
All right, thanks, Jeff. All right, so Roger, now you've got a couple. So you want to talk us through the VoIP phone system upgrade first?
Sure. VoIP, Voice over IP, that's our internal phone system. There's a certain amount of hardware at each location. We have 3 separate systems: Town Hall, Human Services, and Police Department. And it handles voicemails, receiving phone calls, outgoing phone calls, all 9 yards. three elements to that is the back-end hardware that goes to the data center, there's the server-side hardware, especially the server-side software, and then there's the desk phones themselves. So in Town Hall and Human Services, that system was originally installed in 2007. We updated the back-end hardware in 2017, and it is not end of life anytime soon. I talked to our vendor, Carousel Industries, and they've maintained these systems ever since they've been installed. And the good news is that we just need to replace these servers and the software on them, because the newest version of the software that we use will not install on anything past Microsoft Server 2016. And that goes end of life in January 2027. So we wanted to get ahead of this, get this done sooner than later. And this is a quote to do all three locations.
How long would this one be last, do you think, before it becomes obsolete again?
Well, again, it's the server operating system that makes it obsolete, right? The latest version of the Avaya software we cannot install on any kind of server we have. So the company's come to us with a Linux-based operating system that is infinitely upgradable for the future. So it'll be at least good for another 10 years, server side anyway. Now the good news is that we upgrade to the latest greatest software. Our existing desk phones do not need to be replaced. They are 100% compatible, so it's going to save us a lot of money on doing all three systems at once. Now, should we have a desk phone, die on us, we have to buy a new phone, we'll get a newer model, of course. Buy a batch of 10 or whatever, move those forward. But we don't have to buy them all at one time.
So you did mention, I know that the hardware, and as you said, is compatible with this new software upgrade. But how much longer do you think you have on the hardware?
Well, like I said, we installed in 2007 in Town Hall and Human Services. 10 years later, we replaced the back-end hardware. So I'm guessing probably another 3 to 5. But we maintain maintenance on them, so if something happens to it, they come in, they service it. If it's a module, component that's removable, replaceable, it's covered.
Does every room have a phone?
Pretty much.
Yeah.
Some of them have 2 or 3. Depends on the office.
And in the future, we phase them out slowly, or just buy all new when they're end of life?
Phones themselves?
Yeah.
Yeah, like if we get like 2 or 3 that break, we have a few spares, we start seeing higher rates of failure,
Right.
then we'll price out and buy like a box of 10 or 20, and do like a couple offices at the same time, plan it out. That way we can handle it within our operating.
Right.
Am I reading this correctly? This is a state contract for UConn?
This one here, it's not a state contract, it is with the vendor we've used ever since we've had.
The quote cites what looks like a UConn contract.
Yeah.
It says contract number MWN _CT UConn,
Oh, I see what you're saying.
all right? And
Oh, that's what if they, that was a cut and paste maybe from another contract that ended up on ours.
Yeah, I think that's a copy and paste error. But
Yeah. But yeah, so we've used it for years, but maybe just to build off that, I mean, is there a point where, I mean, this is a bid waiver request, is there a point where we should be thinking about taking this back out to bid, or you're confident just based on your knowledge of the landscape that we're in a good position and there's no reason to?
I think we're in a very good position. The company we've worked with for years, Carousel, I can get the same technician to come out today who installed the system. So there's a good history there of their technicians knowing our system. If we had to go out and look at a completely different vendor, completely different solution, we're talking $80,000 per location.
Okay.
Town Hall, and then $80,000 for Human Services, and $80,000. So you see where I'm going with that?
Yeah.
The good news is that, bad news is it's an Avaya system who went bankrupt, then it was bought, sold, what have you. It's still serviceable. They're still in business, and they're still updating and upgrading their system. So it's not a dead system. If it was, we'd be looking for a completely new system, for sure.
Roger, what are the schools using currently?
I'd have to ask Chris exactly what they're using. I think they're using some kind of cloud services.
Yeah.
We had considered that, and I did talk to them about that at Carousel, and it was considerably higher than staying on premises.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I'm just thinking about the conversation we had regarding Chris Williston, you know, taking over as lead for IT in the town. So I'm wondering if there is an opportunity here to get some alignment of services. And maybe we should reconsider this specific Avaya upgrade.
Well, if you want to table this, like I said, the reason for moving on this now is the fact that we cannot update the software, the back-end software, because the servers, we can't put them on new servers that we have, right? And we have until January 2027, when the current operating system is on, goes end of life. So we could table this for a couple of months while we get with Chris Williston and talk about another solution if you like. Or at least see if there's some other opportunities, and if there isn't, then we come back with the same good way.
Yeah.
If there is, then we can explore those.
We got a memo about Chris Williston moving into a new role
Right.
to support the town.
Right.
And part of that process that he's going through is looking at combining services between the
Okay.
school systems and the town
Yeah.
to try to drive some costs down
Mhm.
by combining those services. And Roger, it sounds like there wouldn't be a cost saving in this instance, but again, you know, I'd really like to have some eyes on that to make sure that we're doing our due diligence to make sure we're getting the best bang for our buck here.
Chris, I would say this is Jim Sullivan speaking.
Yep.
You know, the first year of this new IT arrangement is really exploratory and documenting, you know, how everything is done and, you know, needs and all that stuff is, I don't know that you're going to be stepping in and start doing collaborative purchasing at this point.
Okay.
But I mean, I understand where Chris is coming from. As a matter of fact, it was my question on the next item on the agenda was exactly that. But we'll get there in a moment. You know, I guess maybe Roger, the question to you is have you and Chris discussed this? You know, on this particular the VoIP system. You know.
In detail, no.
Okay.
In what projects I have on the table moving forward, yes, he's aware of this.
Okay. But you guys have not talked about the possibility of doing something collaboratively as related to this, or?
The whole situation is still new to both of us. He's already got his projects planned for right now with schools out, and he's full tilt trying to get that done before kids get back into the classrooms.
Is there any risk to waiting another month to give you the opportunity?
There's no risk at all, not at all. And I think that if this was a hardware solution we're looking at, where the cost would be a lot more, definitely more area for savings moving to, or aligning with what he's already got in place over there.
Yeah.
Since this is purely software, we may be looking at doing the back-end hardware again in 3 years anyway. That would be where we'd be getting really good savings back.
Right. Okay.
And then there's we gotta get the police department on board. Do they want to move their phones into the cloud? There's a whole public safety aspect to that right now too. And I know if I talk to Captain Schneider and Deputy Chief Olson, they're gonna say, if it works, it works. You know, you start talking about messing with 911 and the landlines and everything like that, they start to twitch.
Yeah.
However, to your point, we can wait. I'm not opposed to waiting a month or two,
Okay.
get with Chris Wilson, get an answer, and we come back to the board, one way or another.
All right, well, it sounds like if you're saying there's really limited risk, it sounds like a reasonable thing, perhaps. I mean, only one perspective here, but.
And I think you said end of life was 2007,
2027,
Yeah.
January. So by the end of 2026, we would have to have the solution in place.
Yeah.
Presuming there's no extended support for that server operating system.
And we know Microsoft is cutting off support for things left and right, and we try and push everybody toward cloud services. So if I get a new date and I check constantly an update, I have a spreadsheet here telling me what things go end of life, end of final support. If it changes, then we're good. You know, as long as it's supported, we're fine. It's just that we can't update to the latest features of the operating system, the software.
Yeah. So is there features in this new R12 version that you're looking for, Roger?
Not so much features, just being up to date with, so we can get bug fixes and whatnot.
Right. Yeah.
All right, Jim, just a question for you in terms of matter of process here. Should we have Chris J. And make a motion to defer this, or should we decline the existing bid waiver on the agenda.
I think we take no action, it just shows up on the agenda next month.
I didn't hear that last part.
If we take no action,
Yeah,
it just shows up on the agenda
Yeah.
next month, right?
Well, if you want Chris to weigh in, I would just table it until next meeting then.
Yeah.
Okay,
Do a
okay.
Motion to table.
Yeah,
All
yeah,
right, I'll make a motion to table.
Okay. Do I have a second for that?
Second.
Okay, all right, so if you caught that, Jim, Chris made a motion to table, and then I think Deb got the second there. So, all in favor of that proposal to table this particular agenda topic?
Aye.
Bid waiver? Aye, all right. Any opposition? No? All right, so we will move that then to next month, give you the opportunity, Roger, to discuss it further with Chris. All right, and now we'll talk about your second item, but to be honest with you, actually, that was the one thing I wrote down on that second item was school administration have the same point, have to do the same at some point in terms of an upgrade here on the email exchange.
Well, moving forward for, at least for the town side, we are a Microsoft shop. We have always hosted our own Microsoft Exchange server on premises, and this is part of Microsoft's push to get everybody into the cloud. They have prematurely cut off support for Exchange Server 2019 at the end of this calendar year, 2025.
Okay.
So by December, we need an email solution. So in an effort to keep our existing technicians, technical staff working with the product they've trained on and been familiar with, as well as our employees working with software they're familiar with, calendaring, email, and all the accessories that go with that, along with moving into some of the Office 365 functionality that many of the employees for the town, our newer employees, have worked with in other locations. This is what the bid waiver is for the purchase of the licenses required to move us from on-premises Exchange to Exchange in the cloud with the professional services from Total Communications. They would be the vendors selling us the licenses and providing the support to move our Exchange server into the cloud.
So Roger, just so I'm clear, the 20,400, is that going to be our recurring cost annually for licensing? Presuming they don't increase the cost of licenses, which they probably will.
That is the upfront cost.
Yeah.
Let me check something here.
And Mike, to our previous point, I'm fully in support of this particular.
Okay, you're confident there won't be any overlap
No,
in terms of
and
anything going on with the school?
I don't see that here.
Oh, you don't?
And
Okay.
I think there is some urgency to get this moving.
Okay.
In full transparency, there will be no overlap because Chris Wilson and I did talk about this. He knows this is a big issue for us.
Okay.
They're full in on Google services, Google email, and in that aspect, they have had Microsoft Office 365 tenants that they're moving away from because they're more familiar with the Google side of things now.
Okay.
Doing
all
things
right.
in that infrastructure.
Yeah, that makes sense, but there is the Chromebook infrastructure that they
Right.
put out, the one-to-one programs.
Right, they've embraced that whole,
Right.
Ecosystem.
Okay, so different platform or
Apples and oranges.
strategy.
Oranges.
Apples and, yeah, okay. All right, any other questions on this one for Roger? Okay, so can I get a motion to approve the bid waiver request from our IT manager to migrate the internal email exchange server from Total Communications for $35,424?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, that was Bill on the motion.
Chris on second.
Did you get that, Jim?
No, Bill and.
Chris was on second. Okay. All right, thank you, Ron.
Just quickly to answer your question, Chris. The licensing per user, per mailbox, depending on what license we go with, whatever it costs today, it could cost that next year too.
Yep.
So there is no cost savings. The only cost savings is the one-time cost for the professional services.
Understood.
Okay. All right, thank you very much, Roger. All right, so folks, just bear with me 1 second. So I am now going to get Steve on the line here.
Hold on.
We didn't vote yet.
Oh, we did vote, yeah, oh, yeah, okay, thank you for the reminder. Okay. So we got the motions, all right, all in favor?
Aye.
Say aye. Any opposed? No opposed, okay, that one passes unanimously as well. All right, thank you for the reminder.
Thank you, everyone. Have a good evening.
Thank you.
All right. take
Thanks,
care.
Roger.
All right, seeing my phone a second here. Jim, you don't have his number up handy, do you?
I can find it on an email.
I don't know.
Oh, do you have it? Yeah, for some reason my,
Hold on, I've got it,
oh, you do? Okay.
I've got it right in here. Okay, it's gonna be 860
860
334
334
4607.
4607. All right, Jim, if we lose you, I'll call you right back. But
right,
hopefully,
very good.
hopefully that won't happen.
Hey, Mike.
Hey, Steve, how are you? All right, Steve, can you still hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yep, I got you. Let me just check that Jim's still on the line.
John, go on.
It worked, it worked.
Yay.
Ah,
Technology.
So exciting, yeah. But, okay, all right, excellent. So, Steve, thanks for joining. We've now gotten down to the section of the agenda where we get to the many Board of Ed bid waivers. The way we've kind of been doing this is taking them one at a time, kind of give you the opportunity to, talk about each of these. After we ask you any questions, we'll then make the motion to approve, and then we'll take the vote. I'll go ahead and turn it over to you on the first one here, which is the purchase of the portable radios from Goostown.
Mike, before you start on that one, I got a question.
Okay.
On Stephen's memo, he asked for $76,455.92. On the last page of the quote, there's another $4,500 for licensing. So is he asking for $80,000 or just the $76,000?
Right.
It's $80,955.92.
Okay.
Okay.
So, right, all right, so, yeah, the full amount that we have in the agenda, it sounds like, yeah, right, yeah, I think it would,
Right. The memo you wrote just showed the 76. I just wanted to clarify that my understanding was correct.
yeah. Yeah, I think it was just that additional 4,500 FCC licensing item that for some reason wasn't added to the top side, but, that caught my attention as well, but, okay, so, Steve, you want to just give us a little bit more context on this one?
The radio was, this is to purchase the first stage of the radio upgrade. It's actually to purchase the actual, I believe 179 radios and 174 radios in the licensing for the radios themselves and the repeaters once they're installed. We're actually getting the license now for the repeaters, which is the next phase. The radios will work awesome on their own. They'll only be improved when we put the repeaters in the second phase. The digital alone would be a big upgrade on what we have now. So, Goostown is, he said he was a state approved vendor and the radios are marked down 20% from cost. So that's what the quote is.
Yeah. And can you just, I remember, again, this one getting discussed during budget season. Is your number in the ballpark of what we were assuming back then?
So yes, this actually matches, this is in budget for where we were. I think the total project was 170 in the SIP, and this is right on target. He's actually come in exactly as bid in the original SIP submittal, so it's exact.
Okay.
To that first submittal.
All right.
You were asking, Mike?
Yes, yep, exactly, yep, good to know. Yeah, I should know if things have changed since prior discussions on the topic, but it sounds like we're still on target.
Yes, sir.
All right. Other questions for Steve on this one? All right, can I get a motion then to approve the bid waiver request from the Board of Ed Facilities Director to purchase portable radios from Goostown for a total of $80,955.92?
So moved.
All right, got Bill on the motion. A second?
Second.
Second from David. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? No opposed. That one passes unanimously.
Awesome.
All right, so Steve, on to item number 2, the electric, running the electric for the portable classrooms. Do you want to give us a little bit more context on that one, and then we'll move to the formality?
Sorry, there was a car just go by. It is, for the running the three-phase power to the portable from the school main panel. So overall, we had actually had Bonner Electric send an engineer down to evaluate the least expensive way to power the portables without, between trenching or running the power from within the side of the building and out to using the building as the main transportation link to the portables. So they come up with a design, and this is the least expensive way to do it. They're going to provide the drawings to submit to the building department for the permit, along with and they've done an engineered load. So each unit is 150 amps panel, but the actual classroom using 150 amps is not a feasible number, a true number. So they've done a calculated load and worked with the vendor who's, both vendors actually, they get a calculated load for the portables. So they've come up with a design for a new electrical system for the portables. And he is a state approved vendor, not a state winning bid vendor. So, and he has the opportunity to do it this summer if so fast he has the time and availability.
Okay.
Yeah, so how did you get narrowed it down to Bonner, or what? Did you call around and it was based on a bit?
Actually, I used Bonner for the design, because I've worked with, I hate to say this, I worked with Bonner for probably like 20 years and bid them a lot of times over the past.
Okay.
And they have been a reliable company, and they're more on the commercial side. A lot of electrical companies do more residential side electrical. This being a larger service, they've always surpassed anybody in quality for that type of work. So
Okay.
I did not get priced from another electrical vendor. So
Okay, and there's an urgency here.
Yes.
yes, there is, Bill. Yes.
Steve, do you think we're going to need the extra 15,000 for trenching?
No,
Okay.
because basically it's further down in the bid request, P&H Construction is going to be on site doing the civil work.
Okay.
And I would actually it would be a lot less expensive to use P&H to do the trenching while they're on site than you have Bonner do that.
Okay.
So in Bonner's quote, he's going to run the piping and do the connection to the portable. So I'll take out the trenching, and I'll just have P&H do that while they're on site if they get the bid approval.
Thank you.
Okay, great. Other questions on this one?
It's just a typo under E. It says for the sum of $62,008, but then it says $62,080.
Oh, yeah. I don't know if you caught that, Steve, on the actual letter from Bonner,
Yeah,
on that second page where they,
it should be consistent.
there's a typo on their letter to you.
Oh, there is?
Yeah.
I missed that.
Yeah.
How much is the typo?
Well, it says $62,008 when it should be $62,080.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah,
Yeah, I didn't notice that, Dave. I didn't see that.
yeah.
Which one is it?
So we can argue and get $72.
Is it the higher number or the lower number?
Yeah.
Bid waivers for the higher.
80?
Yeah. Yeah. Right, I think we'll assume it's the $80, and yeah, they just missed the Y there. But, all right, and again, yeah, I think we can all appreciate that there's some urgency with this one. Sounds like you've had good experience with Bonner in the past. Yeah, I know they're a well-known company. Yeah, okay. All right, can I get a motion then to approve the bid waiver from the Board of Ed Facilities Director to purchase the installation of three-phase power for the new portables from Bonner Electric for $62,080.
So moved.
Second.
I got the motion there from Deb, and I think that,
Oh, I thought I heard.
no, I give it, Chris got the second.
Okay.
We all motion.
We're going Deb and Chris on that one.
All right.
So.
Maybe
All right,
we should
all
take
in,
turns.
yeah, all right, all in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? No. Hearing none, that motion also passes unanimously. Okay, Steve, next one, the foundation piers for the portables.
That is for P&H Construction. It's actually two projects in one price of $64,165. That is for the piers and drain for the site, which I believe is, I can go back to the quote, give me 2 seconds, is $31,000.
Yep.
In, let me just pull that up. I'm on my phone right now, I apologize.
Yeah, we've got 31,620 for the first part,
Yeah, right,
which is the
right,
pier,
yeah,
and then,
right. And then the second part of the quote is for 2.5 fire access roads. So that would be approximately, the reason there's approximately 50 years is because at this point I don't actually have a set of structural drawings because I'm doing my best to pick a vendor, but I haven't picked a portable. And so I got the approximate amount of piers. So once the vendor has been picked, they submit the structural drawings, that goes in for a permit, and they can start building the portable, which takes about between 4 to 10 weeks. P&H Construction at that point, once he has the drawings with the approximate 50 piers, can start putting the piers in the ground and having it ready for the delivery of the portable when it comes. And the other part is the fire marshal is fire chief now is actually requesting a fire access road around the portable structure itself to connect to the old existing, because we're covering over the fire egress around the fire access around the building with the new portable. So
Yep.
what we're going to do is install, it's going to be a trap rock / covered in stone dust, temporary access road that we go around the portable. And I didn't go with blacktop, I tried to be as cost efficient as possible, which is the stone dust finish. And that would be the second part of the project.
okay, so that, it doesn't specifically say that that's an access road, but that's what you're saying it is. When I read it, it seemed like it was more like just kind of cleaning up around the portables and making it look nice.
No, it's actually a 12-foot wide, 250 feet long fire access road.
Okay.
The existing road. So it's actually going to swing out around the portable and come back into the existing fire access road at the 42th Street site.
Got it.
And I believe P&H has also just won the boathouse project in Stonington. They are a really good vendor, and they've always been competitively.
Yeah. All right, and then, Steve, just back on the concrete piers, so, yeah, one of the questions I had, or I jotted down when I read this earlier, was, kind of making sure that was aligned with the specs for the portables, but I think you kind of made it sound like it is a little bit loose.
Yes, sir, yes.
Yeah. I mean, is there any risk
Yeah,
that,
I'm sorry,
so I was gonna say, is there any risk that, once you actually nail down the actual portables, the vendor and the actual portables themselves, that, suddenly they're gonna require 80 piers, or, I mean, do we?
No, so according to the vendor, it's 40, depending on the access, there's a walkway, like a supported walkway, and it could, and he gave me an estimate between 40 and 50. I went on the higher side of the estimate,
Okay.
so it actually could be less, and it could be a price adjustment going down. I mean, obviously there could be a couple more, but I went to the higher end of the portable vendor's estimate of years required.
Okay, so they've given you something to work with, at least, all right.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right, other questions for Steve on this one? Nope. All right, so can I get a motion to approve the bid waiver request from the Board of Ed Facilities Director to purchase installation of foundation piers for the new portable classrooms from P&H Construction for $64,165?
So moved.
Second. Bill on the motion and Chris on the second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, that one also passes unanimously. Okay. All right, next one, Steve, is the Stonington High School fuel tank.
So talking with Jim, we had planned on taking this over a 5-year, $12,000 a year to get a total of $72,000 to remove the tank. Jim found that we have a $500,000 liability on underground tanks on our insurance policy. So Jim expressed his concerns and wanted the tank removed as soon as possible. Service station equipment is has the state bid for fuel tanks, and it's who almost every single town in this area uses. So that's removing the existing, I believe, 15,000 gallon fuel tank. It's a good size. Removing that fuel tank and filling the hole, doing soil tests and filling the hole in blacktop and abandoning that whole tank. So it's never going to be a fuel tank again.
When you say, it's being removed, right?
Yes, removed, gone. I'm sorry, I'm going to say abandoned. It's like filled up and never been used for oil again.
Right, but the tank, the tank actually comes out of the ground.
Yes, sir, 100%.
I'm just curious why we didn't do this previously, or when we moved away from this. Because this isn't a...
So we just moved away from fuel oil when the A&I started in February. The boilers went in June of last year, so they weren't completed probably till, nearly October, when we replaced the old oil fuel fire boilers. Now the new boilers that were installed are 100% gas fired. They don't have a fuel fire option.
Yeah.
So only just as of this winter, it was never needed again. So, and it actually has like 8 years life on it. That's why I broke it out over time for the town to pay for it. So,
Yeah.
with Jim had the insurance concerns, there was no rush to remove it. In my mind, but Jim had actually caught it on the insurance. So,
Okay, got it. And not to jump ahead here on the agenda, but is the pricing on this one at all related to pricing on the next one? In other words, are we getting a discount because we're doing multiple projects at once, or is the best way for us to view this?
I believe you can do it either or. I believe it's the pricing and that kind of like an all-in deal. You already got your specific rate. If you read the bid, the rates are actually marked out on the state pricing, what they can charge.
Okay.
So I don't think they do like a discount at that point. State bid's usually pretty competitive on that.
Got it. Okay, no, thanks for that clarification. All right, any other questions on this one?
No.
Nope. All right, then can I get a motion to approve the bid waiver request from the Board of Ed Facilities Director to remove the Stonington High School fuel tank using the services of service station equipment for $50,457.80?
So moved.
Second.
All right,
Yeah,
I think I got Dave there on the motion and Deb on the second. I think that's what I heard. All right, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, that one also passes unanimously. Okay, so now we're on to Ms. Tux's fuel situation.
Yeah, so just the other thing is that I had, so in the SIP, I actually had $72,000 put in for removal of the tank at Stonington High School. and I had 360,000 in for the tank removal. It's 204 Mistuxet. The estimate given by Seven Station Equipment was 320, and I had 40,000 in there for going out with bid and doing a set of drawings, because that one's a little more complicated, because we're building a pad and installing a tank, and you know, it would need an engineer design, a design to be submitted for a permit. So in the 204, so not to make this sound too complicated, as of now, 204 has a full tank of fuel, because I didn't actually have this in plan to be removed this year, but again, Jim didn't found that we have that liability in town. So at this point, if you guys go ahead and approve it now, I can get the new tank installed. I can get it includes a new pump set for the boilers. And the pump set is the pumps that keep the oil flowing from the fuel tank to the boilers. Because the other ones are 20 years old. So I can actually mimic and build a complete oil system. So it's just a matter of a changeover when the other tank runs dry, rather than pump the other one out. As of right now, I'm planning on leaving that in the ground until the fall, and then I'll remove it after we go through our first tank of oil. The price came in at $286,544. That's under state bid. That's removal, installation of a new above ground tank, double wall convolt tank. The current tank is 10,000. The new tank is going to be 8,000. I don't feel like we could get away with going just a little bit smaller there. Can you expand the size is 8,000, and it saves some money. But overall, it came in well under budget at 286,000, and they are going to do the drawings to submit for permit as well included in that price. So I'm happy with the engineer drawings done as well.
Got it.
So at the Mistuxet, we're using fuel oil still.
Yes, sir. I contacted Yankee Gas before I committed to this oil thing and whatever we're going to do. There's no plans to run gas lines on this Tuxet, and they have no lines close to that area. To see that, I contacted Eversource, I should say, to see if there was a chance we could get natural gas there before I installed another fuel tank.
But that's why,
There's no plans and no foresight of that.
because those two boilers are brand new, right?
Yes, sir.
That's the problem.
As well, with oils.
And, yeah, okay. Because this is so, so much more expensive than I know the other one was just taking the tank out and not doing anything else, but this is, as you can see,
I didn't catch that.
this one's just so much more expensive because of everything, it has to be done, because you're putting a tank in where the other place, you're just taking the tank out, but,
It's an entirely different scope of work.
And
Yeah.
on this site, a big part of the expense is we're putting an above ground tank. The days that underground tanks are gone, you'll be lucky to find a school or a town installing an underground tank in any site that they own at this point, just because of what Jim has said, the insurance liability of having an underground tank is getting to the extreme, So it just bears the financial sense to move forward, and it saves money on testing, because we don't have to go through the rigorous testing of the pressure testing, any cathodic testing, and inspections that once we're above ground, an in-ground tank would have. So there is a long-term savings. It's only, I'll be honest with you, it's only maybe about $1,000 a year, so $30,000, $40,000 over 30 years. It's not huge.
So Steve, is there any risk that you're potentially oversizing the tank if, in fact, at the end of the day, the town decides that they want to keep the middle school kids at Field Street?
That's based on the building. It's got nothing to do with the occupancy, Mike, so it doesn't matter. If you use it as a school, you want to use it wherever you decide to use that building, that tank is based on the boiler system, and it will match wherever that building is used for. So it's based on size.
Okay.
So
Is there an option for in-ground abandonment?
So I was asked that, one of the town councilors did ask that, if that's what we call them, I'm sorry, but I didn't see that right. There was a request for me actually to check, to see if we could abandon in-ground. And I did contact Service Station Equipment. They did send me an email, which I can forward to you guys after this, that it is no longer really an easy thing you do. You got to have extenuating circumstances to leave a tank in the ground, whether it would be because of like high voltage power lines, a structural issue, because you're going to, dislodge a foundation by pulling the tank, or there's got to be an outstanding circumstance to leave the tank in the ground, otherwise the state won't them out. So it seems like it's a lot harder to keep them in than it's ever been. And plus the tank the town did keep in at 40 Field Street, the tank was kept in ground because of the tank was so close to the foundation and it was approved to be in the ground. The town still had to cut the tank in half. So it's not like it's an easy process. It's not like I'll just leave it there. They still had to cut the tank open. So, and as you can see from the cost of removal of the tank, it's Stonington High School, was at $280,000 to $50,000 for the removal, and that's actually got that $50,000's got filling the hole in and black pumping on and repairing the hole. That we make the removal of the tank seems like a smaller cost factor than the total cost of the job. Does that make sense?
So, yep, no, understood. So another question for you, Steve. So I went back to the SIP book that we got from the Board of Ed during, again, the budget debate, and to look at some of the notes, because, I remember us talking about this one, and one of the things I jotted down was that, this needed to be out of the ground by 2028, unless we spent some additional money, and I wrote about $50K to get like an extension. So, is there a strategy here where you might consider, spending a little money to get another 10 years or whatever while we figure out what we're doing?
I did go down that road, so I have TLA on one side. So the only caveat, having from the center of the tank, you cannot have any public well within 1,000 feet of the tank, and the radius is 1,000 feet. And our neighbor behind us, and I did have a site engineer come in and do shot all the distances to any wells that we could find on anybody's property, and it was a farm well. There is a well 680 feet from the tank, which disallows it for the extension. So there is an actual well. So I tried to go down that road first. But even at that point, Jim, I feel like Jim Sullivan doesn't want the $500,000 liability on the town. And talking with Jim, he wants that tank out of the ground. So either way, it never made that $50,000 option. It wasn't even a choice because of the well. It was within the 1,000 feet.
Okay. All right, good to know, I guess. Not what I was hoping to hear, but it's good. Yeah, good to know the facts at least.
Good question.
And then what about, one other question for me, it sounds like you explained that the fuel tank's full, you want to run this down anyway, you wouldn't do this until the fall, at some point in time when we're out of fuel. Is there any reason why we shouldn't potentially put this one out to bid? This one's, as David was saying, much more complex than what we're doing at the high school. I know service station equipment is used, as you said earlier, frequently, but why not take another month, particularly if we're not going to do anything with this anyway, to put it out to bid to get some other estimates on this?
So I would actually have to bring an engineering firm in to do a bid spec and draw up a bid spec and actually a site plan, because as of right now, I don't have a plan saying the tank's going here, this is where the valves are, this is how we're running power to the tank, this is what the traction is, this is the traction requirements for that tank. So at that point, I would have to It's about 26,000 to get that set of runs from CLA to go out and bid. Because that's what they were going to charge me in Montville when they're doing they're bringing their tanks above ground at their bus station right now. And I did get a quote from CLA and it was 26,000 into a set of runs with bid spec to go out and bid. So I could do that, but it's going to cost the town $26,000 to get a bid written up. If we had an actual design and an actual layout. And does that make sense, Mike? Because if I went out a bid just based on total tank out to a tank over here,
Yeah.
I don't have apples to apples because I don't have all the right lineage and I don't have all the right what I want to say details in the bid, so that I don't have a bid, so the town ends up with something crappy, you know.
No, I mean, I understand what you're saying in terms of getting the spec, but how can service station equipment then reliably bid on it without the specs? Or how?
So they've been in the business, that's the trust factor I guess maybe on my side because I've used them so much. And we've been through that before. I've been through, used them a lot for tank removal and replacement. And when I went through that, I went and I looked at all the sites that they had done. When I done it just on the town of Waterford Public Works, and they done the Waterford fire stations, and I went and looked at their installs at those locations, and that's why I submitted the bid based on their current work quality and installs. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I mean, it sounds like you've got some history. Yep.
I'll throw in my 2 cents. You know, back when we did the tank removal and reinstallation of the town dock,
Right.
we had an engineer do, you know, it took 6 months to get plans, and then this big complicated bid and all this stuff, and all the scenarios were so complicated. I mean, like, you know, this is just turning into a big mess. We called service station. They came down, spoke to Barbara House, and listen, you're overthinking this. This is all you got to do. We can come in, do this in a week, and this is what's going to cost. They were cheaper than any of the bids we had at that time, and we got it done right away for a fantastic price. I think you're not going to beat them if you go out to bid it all day long.
All right. So so there is some history. Yeah, I'm now remembering the town dock situation as you mentioned it. But, yeah. All right. And I think the other thing that's making me just a little uncomfortable is not knowing ultimately how this facility is going to be used. You know, to spend $300,000. You know, and this is probably the first of you know many potential expenditures in that.
Unfortunately, Mike, that life is going to exist on that building, and we're still going to maintain that building, and there is maintenance issues with that building. Whatever way the town decides to use it, they're still going to have to maintain it, and I guess that's something the town's got to look at in the big picture. You know, you bring up a valid point, you know, so.
Sounds like it's a liability issue too, it's not just.
All right. Let me see if there are any other questions, comments.
So on the quote, Steve, it does say 40 Field Street, so I just want to make sure that this is for 204 Mistuxet and that service station equipment knows that. And they just put the wrong address on here. Okay.
I don't believe it. Did it say?
Well, it says the mailing address is.
Oh, that's the mailing address, okay.
Yeah.
All right, not the service address, I understand. But it doesn't say 204 Mistuxet anywhere in the quote. So,
It is for 204.
Okay.
It is for 204, Ms. Buxton. Yes, sir.
thank you.
All right. Any other questions, comments here? All right. Can I get a motion to approve the bid waiver request from the Board of Ed Facilities Director for removal and replacement of the fuel tank at 204 Mistuxet by service station equipment for $286,554.
So moved.
I got Bill on the motion. Do I have a second?
Second?
Second from David. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, that passes unanimously as well. Okay. All right. And then I think one more here, Steve, the engineering drawings for the second floor repair in the Stuxet.
Yes, sir, I mean, I guess this is a safety expedite one. This is to replace the 50 feet of field flooring, or field flooring, ceiling, whatever you want to call it, depending on which floor you're standing on.
Yeah.
It's 204 Miss Tuxet. So the 17,600 gets us a set of drawings, a spec, a bid package to go out to bid on that project. And it'll also get, I think it's 1 or 2 site visits or meetings with the contractor for management. So that's the total cost.
Yeah. And I assume you're proposing to go with Fuss and O'Neill, just given all their history and knowledge on this one?
Yes, sir. And they're the ones that are in amongst all this. And obviously they know exactly what's going on, so we start fresh on this doesn't even make sense.
Yeah.
We start all over again.
Right. All right, any questions on this one?
So,
Discuss.
Oh, yep.
Steve, I'm looking at the quote here, and they say that they are aware that some of the damage may be caused by the HVAC situation with the open returns,
Yes, sir.
but they're not making any sort of indication that they are protecting the new structure from that open return situation. So we're just replacing like,
I just
yeah.
didn't get the last part. I got the part that is in some of the damage came from the
yes. So it looks like the drawings aren't addressing that in any capacity. So we're expecting the same situation to continue to occur in that area.
So it's not even, obviously there's obviously a mixture of a concrete failure in
Okay.
that area. So obviously we're going to be putting in new concrete, and I will make sure I'm sure they're going to put in the right concrete, and I'm sure they're going to put metal decking underneath that in the bid spec to support that 4-inch floor. But that failure, that plenum failure of the moisture going up in the ceiling is a problem for that building, and I've voiced that multiple times.
Yeah.
Sometimes that building would have to go a ductwork system. But it is a problem for that building. But there was the question of that first 50 feet, the 50 feet were replacing our 56 feet, was a field pour or a bag pour at the time in 1961 when it was done. Because it actually feels so much more than the rest of the pouring itself. So I think there's a dual issue there. I think there's an issue at the actual quality of the concrete that was poured in that pour, and also the HVAC system. So I don't know how you answer that. I can't say it will never ever happen again. I can't do that. I would never say that in a public meeting.
No, I'm not asking you to. What I am concerned about is if we use a metal underlayment on the floor, that metal will also be subjected to the same moisture.
Yeah, I would say 100% on
Yeah.
that they're going to put corrugated steel underneath that floor.
Yeah, and I just think like the design to include some mitigation for the moisture we see in the return there.
Yeah, it would be a galvanized steel decking.
Okay.
That goes from, as it spans the hallway that the floor will be poured on. That's common building practice now.
Right, but
When that building was built, it was a plywood subframe which was removed after the floor was poured, so there was no steel decking left underneath the floor at any point, so.
I understand that, Steve. I think the point I'm trying to make is that the current practice of doing a metal underlayment there is going to put that metal in contact with the moisture of your return, which is not common practice now. So are we putting a replacement product that is going to fail quickly because of the return situation?
I can't answer that one either.
Okay.
I can actually bring that up to the engineer to make sure that does not happen, that any steel that we put under there is either A, galvanized to meet the moisture requirements for the location,
Okay, that's what I want to hear, thank you.
Well, that should be part of their, when, they're gonna give us what this should cost, and says,
Right,
I'm
but that's-
assuming that's gonna be part of what they're gonna be looking at.
But
that's-
Steve, you'll make sure that
We do this.
they've got
Yeah.
Chris's concern
Yeah.
addressed,
But
right?
David, that's my problem.
Right.
In the document from Fuss O'Neill, it says that they're not looking at that
Wherever
issue.
Steve Jackie was in there would be a moisture, a possible high moisture location. Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, that's a good
All
point.
right.
I think there's other issues here in terms of problems with the floors and other parts of the building that we need to.
No, I think there's lots of issues.
I
in
think
the
there's a
whole
lot of
area.
issues here that we need to,
This is just the beginning.
well,
Yeah.
I think we're gonna need to take a second look at this whole,
Yeah, so,
effort to try to
Yeah,
repair the
to
stuff.
be honest with you guys right now, I'm actually fighting with the fire damper system, not fighting, trying to get the fire damper system repaired, which is not, it's failed. And with the fire, because it's a plenum ceiling, every classroom's got a fire damper to stop smoke coming from one room and going into the plenum. And especially if the unit, just for instance, say the unit's not running, if the damper doesn't close, there's smoke will just move across the building above the ceiling until it hits the vents in the hallways and then come down. And then it would set the fire alarm off in the hallway because there is smoke detectors in the hallway.
Yeah.
That fire would move around in that ceiling. So right now I'm actually in the middle of getting that all repaired because it was out of 17, I think 9 were failed completely and 17 were non-functional.
Steve, does that relate to this bid waiver? I want to keep us on track here.
Pardon?
No,
oh, yeah.
Okay.
So, yeah, Chris was asking, is that really related
Is
to
that
the
relevant?
current
Yeah.
bid waiver? But yeah, it's different, it's a different time. Yeah.
But just to give you an idea of what's going on in that building, trying to keep it alive, you know.
So I think, right,
There's no students allowed back in it.
yeah. But, I mean, and as relates to, you know, the bid waiver that's on the table, I mean, I think spending, in my personal opinion, spending, you know, the $70,600 to get the engineer drawing so that we can put it out to bid to get intel, you know, get intel things. But I guess what I'm saying is, you know, that will get us more intel, so we'll be able to put out the bid, we'll get then estimates to do the actual work. But we have to be prepared, I think, for some scenarios where some of these bids come back, let's say, on this repair project that are, you know, factors, you know, if it's 3 times what we thought it was going to cost, I think maybe the point Bill was making a moment ago, we have to, you know, take this one step at a time, but be thinking about, you know, at what point do we say uncle? and that's some of the hesitation with the prior item, right? Is, you know, almost $300,000 to fix the, you know, the fuel tank situation.
And I mean, and it's going to be an estimated $300,000. You fix this 50 feet of flooring.
Right. But what if it comes back at 1 million? You know.
well, I think there's,
Yeah.
I think there's other issues.
Right. So we really need you, Steve, to be thinking about how these things are sequenced and, you know, trying to maybe defer some of the bigger ticket items, you know, as long as we can, so that we're not spending any money unnecessarily.
I'm as much as I'm doing. I mean, I was trying to do as much as possible, but I'm following the town's got liabilities, it's safety and it's fuel tank. So I mean, it's kind of convoluted, Mike, to be honest, because I'm not only. I don't know. I just won't spend too much in that building either, Mike. But the town has liabilities that I have to take care of as well.
And I understand. I think that's where we settled probably on the last one is we've got other concerns. Yeah.
Assuming that fixing this 50 or 60 feet of concrete is it's the highest priority right now. I'm assuming.
It's a safety issue, Dave.
Yeah. In order to occupy.
It's been deemed failed. I mean, it's got to come out.
Yeah, that's right. This is the highest priority. That's why.
Right, and the 17,000 gets us the drawings and the bid and the ability to get bids. But I think we have to have a serious when we get those bids back, we have to have a serious conversation about, you know, where it's heading. So, all right. Well, I don't want to get too sidetracked, but coming back, any other further questions on this particular motion?
No.
All right. So then. Can I have a motion to approve the bid waiver request from the Board of Ed Facilities Director for engineer drawings and preparation of the bid package for the second floor repair project at 204 Extuxet by Fuss and O'Neill for $17,600.
So moved.
Second.
All right, Bill on the motion, and is that David, or Chris on the second?
He doesn't have one.
Okay. All right, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, that also passes unanimously.
Mike, is there anything else for the Board of Ed, or are we done with Steve?
Steve, I think we are done with you.
I
Did
just-
you have a question for him before you
Yeah,
jump?
I'm just curious as to how things are going with the portable classrooms, the timing and everything like that. Does it look like
What
you,
I'm at right now is approved to look at two different portable manufacturer products. And I've said there is a difference in quality. So one is plywood, one's chipboard, one windows are smaller. It's quite a lot of differences. So I'm kind of trying to get the bid equalized so they're both the same. So like the windows are the same size, the quality of construction is I just don't want to come in and not be able to answer questions for you guys. If I'm going to come in and say, this is why we're doing it, I just want to say it's apples for apples and this is the best deal. So I guess that's what I'm at with the portables, and it's not easy. Obviously you've approved the site engineer and the site work, and you've approved the electrical. So as soon as there is a lockdown on a building, I am going to start getting moving, so I'm hoping to get the portables installed up and running for November. That's my goal. Hopefully I hit that target, but that's what I'm shooting for.
okay, thank you.
Great.
Thanks, Steve.
All right, thanks, Steve. You're welcome to stay on, or you can, you can drop, up to
No,
you.
I appreciate it. I really thank you for all your time. I know you guys volunteer, and I really appreciate everything you do. Thank you again.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you,
All right,
Steve.
take care.
Bye.
Okay,
Bye.
all right, bye-bye.
Bye.
All right, moving on to the next item on the agenda. We've got a line item transfer. I guess the topic we talked about a moment ago, so I really don't think we probably need much discussion on this, to be honest. Thank you guys for sticking around, though. But let me just check before I make a motion. Does anyone have? All right, so Ken.
I'm somewhat concerned about moving the equipment fund into, where are we going from materials into
We're
equipment?
moving from snow materials
materials.
into
Yeah.
equipment so we can buy a trailer.
I understand.
Right.
So, I mean, based on the cost of the trailer, I think this is something I would prefer to see in SIP. And, with the materials coming in low, I think I prefer to see that money returned to the general fund. Just my opinion.
Is it?
No, can we do that?
Is it not just going to be circular liquid? I mean, 'cause then aren't we going to just have to grab something, from the general fund? It's still ultimately the same pot, right?
Yes, but the difference is that the voters vote on the budget, right? So we go through the SIP process, the voters vote on it, they know what they're getting because they voted on it in the budget. Whereas doing it out of band, we're no longer, and we just went through a very difficult budget session where we cut a lot of things out of SIP.
Right. Understood, but, yeah, I mean, logistically though, Jim, we've done it this way before, right? Jim, you there?
I'm sorry, yes, we have done that before, but also, was that, yes, we have. To answer your question, we have done that before, even though, it wasn't approved in the budget, or pulled out of the budget for whatever reason.
Yeah.
Earlier on in the year, monies were available, we have used them for things like that.
Right. No, and I can appreciate what Chris is saying. I guess, again, just my personal opinion is maybe there's a sort of a materiality threshold. I think if this were suddenly, a $185,000 request for, another loader or something like that, I would be, concerned or recognize that, no, we didn't approve, the voters didn't approve that as part. This feels to me within the margin of discretion of the Board of Finance, just my own personal opinion, but, if we believe it's a worthy investment for the town to make.
And I trust that you guys know your numbers and you know what you're doing, and there won't be something later that comes back, I mean,
No, I believe
Yeah.
there's still gonna be
Still a surplus
still a surplus.
on that we are giving back
Right,
to
right,
the
right,
general.
yeah, right, so, but certainly, yeah, see your point, Chris, but,
It's philosophical.
you know, I'd still,
Oh, I mean, it isn't.
Yeah,
but, all right, well, I mean, I think, you know, it's good that we have these discussions, debates, and, well, I'll still make the motion, and Chris, or if you want to, or you could make a different motion, if you desire.
Oh, no, I think you should make the motion the affirmative, and I
Okay.
would vote no.
Okay. All right, so, yeah, do I get a motion to request from, to do a line item transfer from, for to $25,895 from snow materials, I'll skip the account number, to the appropriate SIP account called Highway Department to purchase. Highway equipment, sorry, to purchase the trailer that we discussed earlier in the evening.
so moved.
Second.
Okay, so motion from Deb, second from Bill. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed
No.
indicate. All right, so we got one.
And Jeff, I want to make sure that you understand, this is nothing
No, I
against the work
understand.
that you and your
No.
department does. I think you do great work.
No, we
Appreciate the
understand
work that you
completely.
do.
We talked about it, and we appreciate you
Thank
taking the time to hear this from us.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right, Jim, just want to make sure you got that on your end, so. Yeah, we got the one note from Chris on that one, so. Okay. All right, excellent. You guys are all set, thank you.
Thank you very
yeah,
much.
thanks for coming.
Thank you. Have a nice holiday.
Yeah,
You too.
happy 4th of July.
All right. Next on the agenda here is approval of our meeting minutes from June 4th. Do I have a motion to approve those minutes?
So moved.
Second.
Oh boy, I think I heard David.
David got in first.
David got in
David
first on
first.
that, and then maybe Deb on
All right.
Whatever.
Okay. Any discussion or comments on that one? Any proposed changes?
It looks good, but I would defer to you, Mike.
Yeah, bear with me 1 second, Jim.
So, on the bottom of page 2, when we're talking about the networking equipment, I don't believe I was, the second to last sentence there, Mr. Johnson asked why a service agreement was needed. I believe I was asking about the installation, the cost of the installation in the quote, and that why we weren't doing that internally. So I think that was more to the effect of mine. So if I were to edit this, I would say Mr. Johnson asked why the installation services were needed as specified in the
So
slide.
it's service, and
Not service
Yeah.
agreement, which is a separate item.
got it.
All right, did you get that, Jim?
I did, Mike, you're the only one I can really hear.
Oh, okay.
Tell me.
All right, so yeah, so this is the bottom of page 2, the bullet that starts with bid waiver request from Roger Kaiser. Do you see that?
Yep.
So towards the bottom of that paragraph, it says, Mr. Johnson asked why a service agreement was needed. Can you please change that to Mr. Johnson asked why an installation service
was needed.
was needed?
Yep. Perfect. Thank you, Mike.
Okay,
So installation service delete agreement.
okay.
And actually, while we're on that same paragraph, just go up a couple of sentences. I don't know, just look what you got, Mr. M-I-S-T-E-R Kaiser. I don't know,
Okay.
or Meister Kaiser.
Meister.
Yeah.
Put burger in front of it.
That's how you spell it in German.
Yeah. And then just a couple of other minor things, Jim. Yeah, so on the bottom of page 6, item number 8, this is town priority A projects.
Yep.
If, item number 8, Human Services HVAC, that second sentence, we had if complete overhaul, H-A-L-L, I think you meant like one word, like overhaul, O-V-E-R-H-A-U-L, yeah, not over the hall.
Yeah.
Yep, And then the next one wasn't necessarily, or a question, I was getting a little confused. On page 7, where you start to talk about, we started talking about all these projects. Page 7, the paragraph that starts with Member Young expressed her concern about the possibility of some of these projects coming in with construction costs in excess of the figures presented tonight. Said the first selectman explained that the Board of Selectmen has already put guardrails in place to mitigate this risk. The BOS approved the bonding list with the caveat that departments can move forward 100% with any project less than $200,000, which is where I thought we were too. But did you intend that to be Board of Selectmen there?
We were, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, no, go ahead, good.
Yeah, that was their thought, and you guys have the same thought. I think Danielle has communicated to Tim, that's why Tim made it a contingency of the Board of Finance as well.
I don't remember the Board of Selectmen actually voting on that, because I was at that meeting, but we'd have to go look at the minutes that were there. But we did specific, when we voted, we specifically.
So I don't know, so perhaps they didn't, maybe that's what Danielle represented. So.
Well, we'd have to go back and look at the minutes, but I don't recall that. But I know that we specifically voted on approval with the $200,000
Right.
provision.
Yeah. And, all right, so I mean, I guess we can leave it unless you find out something other from Danielle, but. Yep. But, sorry, but the next sentence though, Jim, there, same exact place. If a project unexpectedly comes in over 200K, the first selectman would have to come back to the Board of Finance. I mean, I don't think it was, what's troubling me is the word unexpectedly. I think what we're saying, when the project is over 200K, they have to come back. So it's expected that many of these projects are going to cost more than 200K, right?
I mean, you got 200K, whether if the project is going to be 200K or less, they can just go do it.
Right.
But if the project is, you think it's going to be 200K, and they get the engineering done for $50,000, they say it's going to be $500,000, that's when they have to come back to you. I mean, if you want better, well, I'm not going to argue with it.
Yeah, I was going to delete the word unexpectedly because I thought a lot of these bridge projects are going to be well over. Though we were saying, yeah, we do expect many people to come back to us. It shouldn't be an unexpected occurrence.
It's a guardrail for us. If it gets to 200,000, and they have to come back and tell us, okay, what?
Yeah.
They have to come back with a quote.
Yeah.
I'm only referring to projects under $200,000 that expect to be under $200,000.
All right. So maybe.
Essentially saying they have to come back ready to over $200,000, but they have better numbers. I can add that.
Okay, yeah, if you could just clarify that then, because it was a little confusing. All right, and then on the next page, page 8, towards the middle of the page, says the chairman asked for motion to approve the bonded project list prepared by the first selectman. Do you see that?
So I'm going to say it again. Where is that?
Middle of page 8.
Okay.
The paragraph that starts with the chairman asked for a motion to approve the bonded project list.
Okay.
You just keep reading that sentence, with the stipulation that only 200,000 can be expended on any project for engineering and or design to establish hard figures, I think is what you meant to say. Not, you got had figures.
Yeah, hard, yeah.
Yeah. All right. That was it. All right, so we already have the motion, so I guess all those in favor of approving the minutes as modified during our discussion, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Nope. All right, so the minutes are approved. Jim?
Yep.
Thank you. Correspondence, do we, yeah, we don't have anything formally. Unless anyone else received anything via email or?
I have something to talk about in the grants manager report.
Okay. All right. So let's jump then to liaison reports. Maybe just do this on an exception basis. So yeah, if anyone's got, Chris, you want to go first with?
Nothing understood.
But you said you had one regarding grants.
So we were distributed the grants manager report provided by Molly, and I had a question on the grant at the bottom of the first page, the Long Island Sound Planning Grant for $150,000 that says we were awarded for resilience priority planning. And of course, that interested me as the chair of the Climate Change Task Force. So I emailed Molly, and she responded. She said, yes, we did apply and receive this grant. The RFP for this will go through Connecticut Sea Grant and University of Connecticut. So the town's involvement at that point, I believe, is minimal for the RFP process, which, you know, kind of upsets me. I think we should be involved as a municipality to be part of the selection process for the RFP and who that goes to. But, you know, I'm not in charge of that. So that's all I have. I will distribute the response I got from Molly to Jim to distribute to all of you.
Okay. Any other comments or questions, or Chris, just on that, I mean, does Molly know your view? I mean, have you guys had a chance to?
Oh, no, I've not responded to her yet.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, it'd be healthy for her to understand.
Yeah, unfortunately, I think the nature of the grant, right? I don't think
Yeah.
there's any leeway in the grant to not go through those organizations to do the RFP, so is what it is.
Yeah. But, okay, all right, well, yeah, if you want to send that along to Jim, Jim can then distribute that out. Any other liaison reports that?
Yeah, well, just the Mr. Groove Boathouse ribbon cutting is next week, July 9th. And that's kind of a big deal, as I'm sure everybody realizes. So I plan to go. And so that's about all. I think everything is, Jim would know probably even more than I do, but everything looks good. The funding, and so this is going to be great to have the ribbon cutting, to shine a light on this project, which for years, most people didn't even know it was in existence. So anyway, that's a good thing.
Yeah, definitely.
At 5:30, July 9th.
It's already in my calendar.
Yeah.
Mine too.
Yeah,
Great.
they've been promoting it, so that's great. Been a lot of work by a lot of people, so
Well,
that's good
yeah,
to
for
see.
sure.
What time is it, 5:30?
Yep, 5:30, yeah.
5:30, yeah.
All right, and then one quick one from me. We did just close out our fiscal year, so I got the final collection figures from Cindy, and we came in, our tax collection rate for the year was 99.36%. If you compare that to last year, we were at 99.41%.
Oh.
So, 5 hundredths. Different, so.
Well.
But yeah, Cindy and the team do a great job, and, you know, chasing
Yeah,
up.
they do.
And so, yeah, I mean, to consistently have collection rates, you know, above 99%, I think speaks highly of the team, so that's great. All right, no other comments or liaison reports? I think I can welcome a motion to adjourn here.
Good job, Mike.
Motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
All right, second, we are adjourned.
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Yep, good job.
All right.